As our patriarch Jacob returns to the land of Israel this week, fresh off of his encounter with a riverside wrestler, he sees his brother Esau. The Torah describes an emotional meeting. Esau ran to greet him. He embraced him. He fell upon his neck. He kissed him. They wept. And if you look into the Chumash, you would find the Hebrew word vayishakehu. And above this word, every single letter receives a dot. It is a unique patterning in the Chumash. The rabbis have a split opinion on this specific constellation of ink. Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar says that each dot above each letter of this word is to highlight the complete sincerity of this moment. Brutal Esau, who once begged heaven for his father to die so that he could murder his brother as quickly as possible, has had a change of heart. The brothers weep together for what could have been. Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar disagrees. Esau is Esau, he argues. He has not changed. Do not read Vayishkaihu, and he kissed him. Understood that the reading should be Vayinshechu. He bit him. And the Midrash continues, as Midrashim often do, that God protected Jacob and blunted Esau's teeth, and those teeth broke upon Jacob's neck. Jacob and Esau reunite. They embrace, they weep. They both suffer so much. But one weeps because his brother bit him, and the other weeps because his brother will not die. I woke up this morning to 3 headlines. The first from the CBC. Fighting begins again after talks fail to extend truce between Israel and Hamas. The second from NPR. Israel resumes airstrikes after it says Hamas violated truce. The last from the Times of Israel. Hamas breaks ceasefire. IDF resumes operations. In the early 20th century, a play was written called Gaslight by Patrick Hamilton. Perhaps you saw its revival last summer at the Shaw Festival. In it, a woman fears for her own sanity. Things vanish inside her home. Odd objects appear without cause, and the gas lights that light her home dim at odd times with no reason. That flicker of gaslight symbolizes her slipping hold on reality. Her husband insists nothing has gone wrong, nothing has changed, everything is as it is. Slowly, she comes to believe that she is a kleptomaniac, that the past she remembers so clearly a delusion. Slowly, she begins to fear that her grip on reality is fading away. Who can tell what is real? Who can tell what is not? Flicker, flicker, go the lights. This play gave birth to the phrase gaslighting. Gaslighting, or being gaslit, refers to the deliberate attack on another person's sense of reality. It is often done at the expense of women, often done to minority groups. It is an abusive tactic done in relationships in order to increase the dependence of the person on their abuser. It is a deception perpetrated to break down certainty and self-esteem, to increase vulnerability, to make people question if what they see happening, what they know to be true, is actually reality. It is something that is happening every single day to the Jewish people. In conversations with our neighbors, conversations between leaders on the world stage, and of course, in the news. Let us return to those 3 headlines. Hamas breaks ceasefire, IDF resumes operations. Hamas did break the ceasefire. This is an empirical fact. They broke the ceasefire yesterday, when its fighters murdered 3 people at a bus stop in Jerusalem and proudly took credit for the attack. Hamas broke the ceasefire when it reneged on its commitments and refused to put forward another list of hostages for exchanges last night. Hamas broke the ceasefire shortly after midnight when rockets began to fall on Israel. U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken said as much the moment he landed in Dubai this morning. So why am I reading on CTV News that Israel and Hamas trade blame for ceasefire's end as combat resumes? Why is the news on NBC, Israel resumes Gaza military operation after ceasefire ends? Why is the Reuters headline, scores reported killed in Gaza as fighting shatters Israel-Hamas truce? This is not bad journalism. Well, it's not just bad journalism. These headlines are gaslighting. They are an attempt to undermine reality, to present a narrative in the face of evidence that says, well, actually, to equate the fact-based claims of the government of Israel and the government of the United States of America with the propaganda of an internationally recognized terrorist organization. Well, you know, Hamas says Israel attacked first. Well, you know, Hamas says Israel didn't want to negotiate anymore. So who can say who broke who, what, when? Who knows? Who knows who's at fault? Flicker. Flicker go the lights. NPR. Israel resumes airstrikes after it says Hamas violated truce. And this is also gaslighting. Not only for the reasons above, but because it once again puts the onus on Israel to prove what it is facing is true, to prove that what it's facing is real. The skepticism that I can't imagine you have escaped, that yes, things are actually bad for Israelis, that Israeli suffering is real, that Jewish suffering is real. Prove to me that your people really died on October 7th, that it wasn't a false flag operation, that it wasn't a deliberate lapse in protection to provoke a war with Gaza. Prove to me that the hostages are actually having a bad time. Look at them smiling. Look at them waving goodbye. They look great. Prove to me. Prove to me that they just didn't murder you on October 7th. Prove to me that they violated you too. And here in Canada, prove to me that when I smash the mezuzah off your door, it's actually anti-Semitism. It's not just me being pro-Palestinian. Prove to me that when I tear down your poster of a kidnapped child, that I'm the one who's done something cruel. Prove to me that on the anniversary of the Reichspogrom, the thing the Nazis call Kristallnacht, that I deface a Jewish-owned business and that's just an act of protest. Prove to me that just because you're afraid of being a Jew, it isn't because I've been chanting for your death every single week. Israel says Hamas violated the truce. Prove it to me. And flicker, flicker go the lights. CBC. Fighting begins again after talks fail to extend truce between Israel and Hamas. A truce is by definition a short interruption in a war. And my rabbi, David Landis, explains that in halakha, in Jewish law, there are certain categories of war. There are wars called milchemet rishut, an optional war, which is fought to increase your power or your territory, and this is not that kind of war. There are wars of nikama, of revenge. And Rav Landis makes it clear that no matter what our personal feelings or motivations may be, that the code of Jewish law makes no room for a war of revenge, that the Jewish people must never fight a war of revenge, because revenge can never be satisfied. You can never spill enough blood for revenge. And so when you fight a war, you must find a reason for it greater than revenge. There are wars against Amalek, the evil force that attacks women and children, the weak and the elderly, a foe which must always be remembered, completely forgotten, and totally destroyed. But the rabbis of the Talmud teach us that Amalek as a nation is no more. It is lost and dispersed. The Rambam and the Sefer HaChinuch, written more than 700 years ago, agree. And just because it is convenient, we cannot resurrect our ancient foe. We are not allowed to give ourselves genocidal permission because we are not Nazis and we are not Hamas. And so what Rav Landis teaches us is this, that what we find ourselves in now is called a milchemet mitzvah, a commanded war, of which the purpose can only be, as the Rambam teaches, to save the people of Israel from peril. And a milchemet mitzvah is not optional. It is a war of existential survival. October 7th showed us what awaits every single person in Israel, not just Jew, not just Israeli, every person, if this war is not fought. And there can be no doubt today that what we fight is a milchemet mitzvah. And thus the sharpest cruelty of all is the denial of that truth, the weaponization of our love for peace, the weaponization of our prayers for shalom against us. And so today the truce breaks down. Today talks fail. Today Israel rejects a ceasefire. Why no ceasefire? Why no truce? Why not try talking? Why not try peace? Why do you have to wage this war? Why are Zionists so violent? Flicker, 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 go the lights. It makes me tired. It makes me tired, this constant gaslighting. So let me tell you where I am finding strength. I am finding strength in the good and diligent truth-telling that is happening by voices like Hen Mazik, who was here on Monday night with the UJA, like Ashaga Araro, an Israeli-Ethiopian activist who will both be at the rally in Ottawa on Monday, and if you can't come with us to Ottawa, guess what? She's speaking here that night on Monday. Voices like Danielle Hartman, and voices like Danny Gordis, and voices like Maddie Friedman, and voices like Yossi Klein Halevi. And I'm taking strength in the good work of our dear members, David DeWitt and Mark Anshin, and their hard work that they are putting into the Israel dialogues. And I am drawing strength from the young members of our congregation, part of last year's class of confirmants, like Sam Mogul and Lior Marcus, who have bravely, proudly spoken to local and international press about what they are really facing every single day. And I am drawing strength because I know that this Monday, we will stand as a community in Ottawa, and we will stand in truth, and we will draw power from each other. And as one greater Canadian Jewish community, we will resist the flickering of a world that would undermine everything we know to be true. Chazak ubaruch. Be strong, be blessed. Shabbat shalom.